Three pedals. I love it. And I'm going to drive barefooted. This car has a 5-speed manual. It's just fun. I really like it. And it's not an M. That's just on the shift knob. Some eBay purchase. 127,227 miles on it. We're going to take the Z4 out for a nice little spin here before we start messing with the paint on the front bumper. This is a fun little road. You know, I said I was going to paint the front bumper, and I still am. I just wanted to take care of a few little important errands quickly here. And it's always nice to drive this little bugger. Woo! I bought this car in Missouri. I had gone to Arkansas to help out my father-in-law and decided to drive home. So I went and looking on Craigslist, and there weren't very many interesting cars out there in the Midwest. I looked at some Subarus and things like that, but finally somebody called me back, and it was the owner of this car, and I bought it real cheap because it needed a lot. It was in really sad shape. So bought the car, drove it home, and didn't have any problems. Drove it all the way across the United States, no problems whatsoever. It was actually surprisingly reliable. It's just shocking. The only problem the car had, the service engine soon light is on, and for the same reason it's still on. And the air conditioner was broken. So I had a new air conditioning compressor put in. I didn't put it in myself. I don't have the vacuum pumps and all of that good stuff that it takes to do the AC systems legally in California. So I let a professional shop do that particular job. But everything else on this car I've taken care of. I didn't drive it for a couple of months because it started to develop a really terrible clunking sound in the rear. And I had read online some horror stories about the old Z3 and how the whole subframe bushings go and the whole rear of the car starts to fall out. It's kind of what it sounded like to me. Like there's something wrong. And I put it up on my lift. I looked at the CV joints and all of that stuff, looking for something that's starting to let go. Everything checked out fine. But it kept getting worse and worse. This clunk, 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 clunk. I couldn't figure it out, so I ended up parking the car. A couple of months went by with the car just sitting there. Finally, I decided to really look into it again and solve the problem once and for all. And I'm so embarrassed. The lug nuts were loose. So I parked this car for 2 months because it had loose lug nuts. Damn. That's pretty sad. But the wheels are tightened up and she's back on the road. And now we're going to clean her up. Going to paint that front bumper. And then we're going to look into this check engine light problem and get this bad boy legal. You know, once I can get this thing to pass smog, then it might move further up on my list of cars because it's pretty low to the bottom right now. And it's only because I've had a hard time getting it to pass smog. So once it's legal and it passes smog, I don't know. This is an awfully fun little car. That straight six makes a wonderful noise. It's a convertible. I mean, the convertible top works. So it's kind of nice to put the top down once in a while. Woo-hoo. Yeah, I'm not speeding. It just seems like I am. Yeah, you gotta figure this little car is something. It's comfortable for being a tiny little go-kart kind of a car. I didn't have any discomfort driving it for hours and hours when I was driving it across from Missouri to California. We went all the way across the Continental Divide in Colorado, and then we went down through Utah. It was beautiful. I always have had a soft spot in my heart for cars like this. Probably goes back to my very first car ever, my gorgeous little MG Midget. I bought my first car in 1975, and it was a 1974 MG Midget. It had about 10,000 miles on it when I got it, so it was almost new, although 10,000 miles on an MG is about the same as 100,000 miles on one of these.
That's the day I got it, and that's me behind the wheel at 16 years old.
So it required lots and lots of upkeep. So I learned a heck of a lot because of that car, and it got me into this whole taking care of my own cars thing. That little MG was so unreliable, but so much fun. You could toss it around. This car is everything I would dream my MG could have been. The MG had no power at all. It did like 0 to 60 in like 18 seconds or 12 seconds, something crazy like that. Super, super slow car. This car has 184 horsepower, something like that. It has a little bit more horsepower than a Porsche 911 from the mid-80s. So this is just your standard 2.5, and it's got more horsepower than an 80s 911 Porsche. So this car is fun. It's a fun little car. It gets up and goes when you want it to. It gets decent mileage. It just doesn't have very much cargo space. And if you want to bring, your dog along with your wife or your significant other, can't really do that either. Not unless your dog is a little tiny thing. And Marshall, our little dog, is a German Shepherd. So, yeah, that's the drawback. See that? I'm driving a BMW and I'm using my directionals. Something else this car, another issue with this car is it has electric power steering. And the power steering is making a little groaning noise from time to time. So I think the electric power steering is starting to give up. So we might have to look into that, because sooner or later it's probably going to fail. The sky sure looks nice today. Almost like a painting. A painting? Oh, that's what we're supposed to be doing. That's right.
Okay, so we're gonna clean. She's pretty dirty, but that's okay. The inside is really dirty, so we'll have to be cleaning this all out. And this top is dirty from the cat sleeping on it. And then we're gonna get that guy, hopefully. This is what happens when you leave a car parked with the top down. But that's okay. We'll clean it right up. Trying to get the garage ready to pull the car in, and this kitty won't leave me alone. This is Mr. Pink. Mr. Pink's a girl. Yeah, we watched Reservoir Dogs. Hello, Mr. Pink. Now that I've got it in the garage, and I put it up on the lift, my lovely Harbor Freight lift, and I can see everything a little bit easier here. And as usual, the slippery slope has begun, because as I really am looking, okay, that patch is pretty bad, and it's got a lot of loose paint still on there. And then I'm looking, and it looks like the paint's worn through to primer, or at least worn through the clear coat there on this seam. And it's got damage down below. It's just really in much worse shape than I thought. So there's this nice big chip here, paint blistering around it. It's just in bad shape, so I'm thinking, here we go. It's all scratched up there. I'm going to need to just pull this whole bumper off and repaint the whole thing. That's what I'm thinking. Here we go. And it looks like there's some little clips in here that I'm going to have to take out. So I think I'm going to pull off the front wheels. And then it looks like there's a bunch of, look like Torx. Those are probably 30s across there. And then there's going to be some underneath here. Well, looks like quite a few of them are missing already. So we'll replace those when we put it back together. The lug nuts are 17 millimeter. Always wear your safety goggles. We're going to have to pull out these 4 plastic rivets. And there's something that could possibly break on their way out, and if that's the case, that's okay, we'll just get new ones. Now, I'm using 2 pry tools. The metal one, because it's nice and thin and can get under the head real easy. And then I slip this plastic one underneath, so it's protecting the finish that we're going to redo anyway, but if you're not repainting your bumper, it will then protect your finish, and it gives you a little more leverage. Okay, well that went pretty good. All 4 of those are reusable, so yay. Okay. I think I'm going to loosen up under here too, because I'm going to try to get behind this fender and try a little paintless dent repair. Well, I guess it's to be expected when you buy a really inexpensive version of a car that sometimes stuff's going to be a little sketchy. I count 11 bolts that this is supposed to have that holds all of this belly pan and everything in place. So I've taken the few that were here out. So instead of 11, it had 5. So less than half of what it was supposed to have. So anyway, I pulled those out. So when I put this car back together, I'm going to put 11 bolts back in. Okay, that doesn't look too terrible. Uh-oh, I see an oil leak There's my nice new AC compressor. Okay, and there's my steering rack. And so maybe I ought to look into a couple other things while we have this open. Oh, the slippery slope. Jeez. Okay, well, we're inside the fender well here, and there are little access doors that I've swung to the side. This one's the back of the headlight. This one's the back of the fog light. So the fog light's coming off with the bumper, so I'll go ahead and unplug that now. And then I'm going to loosen some more of these bolts that are holding the inner fender well in place, so I can pull it down a little bit more, so I can get access to where those little dents are that I'm hoping to be able to press out. Something else, when I'm working on these plastic fender liner type stuff, I like to use just a little quarter drive hand ratchet. These things are never very tight, and you don't have to use a whole lot of leverage, and it goes pretty fast. And I don't even have to tell you what store I got it from. I'm sure you already know. They don't sponsor me. They should, but they don't. That's my little dent that kind of bugs me. So, trying to get to the back side of that, but also, there it is again. There's a little dent right there on the body line as well. But there is another bolt back here. It's 10 millimeter, and I've almost got it out. This is the back of the fog light, and we're disconnecting the plugs. This car has seen some shit. It's supposed to have a clip on this side that you press on the bottom, but it's missing. It's only got the one on this side. So you press it, wiggle a little, and off it comes. To open these access doors, all you have to do is turn that a half turn, top and bottom. Okay, well, that one's broken. All right, that was great. I've lowered the car down so I can remove these 7. These 2 are already out. I put them in these little boxes I get from the dollar store, like 8 for $1. And it keeps all your hardware nice and sorted out. So there are 7 of these. They are T30s, and they come out pretty easily. I'm going to leave the center one with a couple of threads still in until I'm sure the rest of the bumper is ready to pull off the car. I'm not really sure. You might have figured out by now, I'm not really a mechanic. I have never worked as an auto mechanic. I only do this for fun at home, and I really never quite know what I'm getting myself into. But it's always interesting, and it's usually fun, and that's the best part about it, is the fun for me. Yeah, it's always fun taking a car apart. Never know what you're gonna find. Well, I'm about to take out the last screw, and something else I need to do is I need to go on Amazon or eBay and order some new emblems. These things are just awful. They're all crazed from the sun, and it looks like fake carbon fiber, and yeah, they just look really bad. So I have to order some new ones for the front and the back. Okay, so that's the last bolt. Let's see if we can wiggle this bumper off. Here goes nothing. Let's try this again. There were some clips on both sides that were kind of a bear to pry out, but I got them out. It's loose, so let's see. Well, have to take this piece off first. got it off and on our table. And now when you look real close, the rest of the car looks okay here. So I popped off this ugly ass emblem. Sometimes you need to use like monofilament or something to cut behind, but I was able to push these little posts from the back and it just popped right off. Real easy. Easy wheezy. And then I'm taking off the fog lights. There's 4 Phillips screws that hold it on. They're real easy to see. And then these things are pathetic. I'm gonna have to do a restoration on that. Yeah, that's just terrible. This bumper has been primed with solvent type primer. Okay, if I had to guess, I'd say this probably is not the original front bumper. I don't really know for sure, but it says made in Taiwan, so that's a pretty good clue. To pop out the grills, we need to reach in here and just pry the little tab a little bit. Yeah, so it's pushed out a little bit here. Oh, and it just pops right out. And there we go. Okay. And we got to take out that lower grill. The bumper's off. But it's dark. And I didn't do anything about the dent yet. And it's getting late. So I'm going to call it a day. And you know, now you see how things go. It's a slippery slope when I start taking something apart. I was planning on getting it completely done today, and now all I've got is everything apart and several more jobs. I'm thinking I really do need to do something about that power steering that's groaning, and hey, I've already got it apart. I want to take it further apart, right? Yeah, at least I did get to change this one to green, because now the Z4 is fairly clean, and it's only going to get better before we release it from the garage back into the wild. Thanks for watching, and hopefully tomorrow we'll have a bumper painting video, and then we'll do that whole thing with the brush. Oh crap, I just remembered something. The front bumper is off, so the Z4 can no longer be considered roadworthy. So unfortunately, that one has to go red. Gotta keep things on the up and up.